know why I decided to make a video like this, but the idea came into my head and it just got me thinking, what were the times that I was most embarrassed as a teacher? And because in reality, like your teachers are human beings. I know sometimes you go and visit them in the classroom, you kind of think they're like robots, and then you see them at the supermarket and it's like uber weird. We've had those interactions. I even remember when I was a student, like seeing my teacher out in places that was not school. It was just weird. Like you didn't really understand how to interact with them. But teachers are human. And guess what? We have, embarrassing things that are going to happen to us. And I want to focus on in this video are 3 things that immediately came to mind. If something else comes up, I'll probably make another video on it. But these were the top 3 times that I, as a teacher, was embarrassed. So the first one is something that happened all the time. I had students that played sports. They would come into school or into the classroom and they would bring a ball, baseball, soccer, basketball, whatever may be the case. And I would always, play around with them because I played sports when I was younger. So I like playing with balls. I would bounce them, I'd maybe pass maybe back and forth. Something to keep the classroom kind of lively, right? You got to have fun. You just can't always be so strict and let's do math, all the time. Like, let's have some fun. Let's talk about your sports and blah, blah, blah. So there's one time the students brought it in and they really liked throwing the ball around. And I think it was a soccer ball. And so we were kind of going back and forth. And then, I don't know, I guess I got a little cocky. I think the theme of the first 2 stories is me being cocky as a teacher. So I'm a little cocky as a teacher, kind of showing my little soccer skills, even though I never played soccer past the 6th grade, but I could juggle a ball a little bit, right? I was in front of the class. I'm kind of like juggling back and forth. And rather than trying to pass it to them, like through like a bounce pass, like a basketball, it's a soccer ball. So I'm like, hey, you know what? I thought to my head, I'm going to actually try to kick this over to them. And they were unfortunately in the back end of the classroom. So I was actually going to have to put a little bit of, little oomph on the ball. So I'm playing around and we're talking. I'm like, all right, I'm kind of getting over this. I got to get to my lesson, right? So, I'm bouncing a little bit and then I decide to go through a big kick. And of course, it doesn't go off the top of my foot. It goes like off my heel and I hit it pretty hard and it smacks a girl right in the front row, smack dab on her face. And immediately at that time, I was so embarrassed and also scared thinking, oh my God, I am going to get fired from my job. Like, that's it. You cannot come from this. Like, that is it. This is the moment that you're done. And I mean, it hit her hard in the face, smack dab. And I'm just like, I just froze because I didn't know what to say. I didn't know what to do. I'm just like, oh my God, I am so sorry. And, she was such a sweet girl, just such the nicest person. She did not, well, nobody deserves to get a ball kicked right in their face, but she was one of those where you're like, no, not a person like you. It's like she never caused an issue or trouble. And I'm like, oh my God, how is this going to end? And thankfully she was okay. Like, I think she even had some tears coming down her eyes because, I mean, it hurt. It had to have hurt. But she said, I'm okay. And like, she played sports, actually. I think she played lacrosse, if I remember correctly. So I think that kind of helped me out because she was kind of like maybe used to a little bit of some toughness and either else because she was fine. I never heard anything else about it. I checked in on her a couple times throughout the year, but I was totally afraid. I was so embarrassed of that happening right in front of my class and then also that I was going to get fired. But thankfully, nothing really ever happened of it. I made some jokes about the situation later in the year and everything went okay. So the first embarrassing moment, thankfully, was not too bad. Now, the second time I was cocky, this one's kind of a bad story. I'm not really proud of this, but unfortunately, it's not really that great of like embarrassing. You can probably feel my feeling as I'm going to go ahead and tell you the story, but because it wasn't good. So if you're watching this video, you're probably aware of the fire drill inside of the school. Every month we had to have a fire drill. And so what we would do is the fire drill would go on and I would escort my students out to the courtyard, take roll, you sit there, you wait for the fire marshal to kind of go through his check, and then you go back to your classroom. And usually from beginning to finish, depending on if there was any issues, it would take 10 to 15 minutes out of your day. Now, this happened about, I don't know, maybe four or 5 years into my teaching. So I kind of got used to what I was doing. I think I might've been the department head. Actually, I know I was the department head at that time. And not to say like I was cocky about having that position, but I think I was cocky like I know what I'm doing, right? And I can maybe challenge some authority or challenge some position or challenge some ideas that we have. So the tough thing about at least the courses that I was teaching, I believe at that year, if I remember correctly, I was teaching some upper level classes. So when you lose 15 minutes, like it really puts you behind, especially if you're teaching all the classes at the exact same time. And then one class gets like 15 or 20 minutes, shorter. It's hard on you, a teacher. And I remember, usually a lot of times the drills were not notified to us, right? We weren't told here, there's a fire drill. But I think it was like at the end of the month. And like somebody made a comment like, hey, we haven't had a fire drill this week. So guess what? There's probably going to be a fire drill this week. So that was playing into my head. And I think I don't remember exactly, but I think I had like a test or something else coming up. I didn't want to lose some time with my particular class. So the fire drill goes on and the students start to get up and I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. No, guys, let's stay in here. This is just going to be a drill. I really, really need to cover this review. Don't worry about it. Let's go to this. I know, a really, really bad decision, but it's true. I made it and I'm here telling you about it. So we stayed inside the classroom. I continued teaching because I thought that was the best idea at the moment in time, which we all know is a horrible idea. Don't do it. But so anyways, time goes by and I'm like, maybe it's like 10, 15 minutes later. I'm like, okay, this is taking a little bit longer. Now I'm kind of getting a little concerned. I peek my head outside the door. Nothing was going on. And I'm like, all right, well, let's just continue on. Now, I will say in my times of being a teacher, there was times we had a fire drill and there was a couple times we had legitimate fires, right? So I was aware of that situation. And there was times we were out there for like an hour, and you could see smoke and everything else. Like I had been through that. But I kind of, I guess, forgot about it that all and decided to keep my kids inside the classroom. And then after about like 20, 25 minutes come by, I'm like, all right, now I'm actually really, really concerned. I could actually be putting my students in danger if there actually is a legit fire. The best thing I got to do is try to get my students out of this classroom. And so hopefully maybe nobody will notice. Not really sure why I thought this would be not a bad idea. So I take my students out of the classroom and everybody, as we're all turning the corner, not only do I see my principal, I see the four vice principals and all the admin, everybody there, all walking down the hall looking at me. And I'm like, you could just see that moment where you just want to what is it, like the Southwest? Like you just want to get away. Like I am just truly, I don't even know what to say. They're just looking at me. And I think my principal, she just says, I'm going to talk to you later. Like get your students out. And I'm like, oh my God. Oh, it was just so embarrassing to see everybody out there. And then also again, I'm thinking like, am I going to get fired? Am I going to get written up? And it ended up being, there was like a small little fire that happened in the cafeteria that was addressed. But yeah, they had to legitimately do a full evacuation. And I was the idiot teacher that decided to keep my students inside the classroom. I don't think I got in trouble though for it. I'm not really sure why, but I'll just say that I'll never forget that moment of that pure full of embarrassment, just seeing the face of the principal and all the admin just looking at me and like, I have no excuse, right? I mean, I was an idiot. That was my decision. I have like nothing else to fall back behind. Oh man, it was horrible. All right. So now let's get into the last one. Now, I think the last one, you could probably visualize those first two and you're like, it's kind of embarrassing. But here's the one where this one is it's a classic. It actually happened, right? All of these stories are going to be true. So if you ever watched my videos, all of my classroom videos, one thing you have noticed is that I always wore dress pants and dress shirt. That was just my uniform. I wore it every single day. I even wear dress shoes. Like that's what I believed a teacher should dress up on. And I know people have different voices of opinion. That's fine. But that's what I did, right? Now, the other thing about lovely living in Jacksonville, Florida, is that you can go to the beach. I mean, when I first moved down here from Michigan, I was at the beach every single weekend. I just loved it. So I always had board shorts and sandals and a towel, everything in my trunk, because you never knew when, friends would call you, be like, hey, you want to go to the beach? And you just drive down there and you meet up, right? So I always had my beach supplies in my trunk. So it was one of those days where you kind of feel like you're in the zone, like everything's going good. You have a great lesson. Your students are engaged and you're just feeling it. And you're just teaching, you're riffing off your lessons. Everything just feels really, really good. I don't think I was recording at least this lesson or at least at that time. But anyways, I'm teaching. And at the board, there's that little thing, the tray for the markers, right? And a lot of you have seen, I have tons of markers inside there. So I'm walking around and I'm just kind of in that I guess I would say that little cocky mode. I'm just having fun, whatever else, moving around. And I just remember I turn around and the corner of that marker board catches my pants, right? Because I had this dress pants and I usually had my keys would tuck in so it kind of poke it out a little bit. And it just rips my pants, right? All the way down to my knee. And so you can just see my boxers, you can see my thighs, whatever else. And I'm like, oh crap, oh no, this is not good. So, immediately some students recognize that they're laughing. Some students are like, what just happened? It wasn't that big of a deal, at least in the classroom. It wasn't like my pants fell down, right? But still, it was kind of embarrassing going on there. But this happened, I think first period though, right? So it was the first period of the day. And so I think I maybe held my pants or maybe sat down at my desk. Not really sure if I remember correctly what I did, but I was able to at least get through that period. And I just remember that I was like, what am I going to do? Literally, I cannot stand in front of my class. I cannot teach the rest of the day with a rip in my pants. It was bad. And so I had to come up with something. And then finally dawned on me, I'm like, I have my board shorts in my trunk. I'm like, so, once we had the period shifted after first period, I'm like, let's go to my car and get my board shorts. That's exactly what I did. Ran out to my car, got my board shorts. And so for the rest of the day, I was wearing dress shoes, dress socks, board shorts, and a dress shirt. And to say that I looked absolutely ridiculous was probably like a complete understatement. Every single time, of course I had to walk through the halls. I don't think I brought my lunch that day, so I ended up getting lunch in the student lunch thing. So went to the cafeteria with all the students. Everybody sees me. And it's just like, it brings back to those memories of like when you were a kid in high school where you're like, everybody's looking at you, staring at you, laughing at you, you're wearing something new and everybody like recognizes it. And I mean, obviously I've been through the grind and it's not like I care so much about what other students are thinking of me or other people, whatever else, but still, it was just embarrassing because you're walking, everybody looks at you, they're laughing, other teachers saw me, they're cracking up, and I'm like, oh my God, I should have taken a picture. I don't think I ever took a picture. Maybe somebody did, but I'd love to see what I looked like that day because I just looked goofy as all could be. And it was definitely one of the more embarrassing times that I've had. But when I thought about this video, those were the three that came right up to my mind. So hopefully this gave you a little bit of a chuckle and just maybe a little realization that yes, guys, ladies and gentlemen, teachers are humans too. Hope you enjoyed this video as well as the next video I have for you here.